Hey, this is Arsinikk, and today we'll be checking out the midis that were submitted in the Midi contest, part of the 100 Line Massacre anniversary contest thingy. Wow, so professional, isn't it? So we got a total of 8 midis, which isn't super crazy, but I still like that we got that many. I mean, it's always... I mean, I already knew that, like, I think midis is something that... Like, there's a lot more Doom mappers than Doom MIDI composers, so to speak, so... Just getting 8 midis is, it's more than... I mean, I'm pretty happy for what we got, so yeah. There wasn't that many, like, there wasn't very much restrictions regarding the Doom midis. It was more just make a Doom MIDI and then, you know, I judge them, pick like my favorites. I'm planning on, when I say pick my favorites, it's more like, it's not just like my personal favorite, even though like I'm sure we all have biases. It's also like how well I think the midis are composed and that sort of thing. So even if it's like a style or something I don't really like super dig, so to speak, I'll still like consider it. Like I still may like think, oh, but I think it did it really well, that kind of thing. So, let's make sure I get this to work correctly. This should work, so to speak, but you never know. Let's just hit play and let's see if it captures it. Okay, I should have said that I'm gonna try not to speak during the midis because I kind of don't want to miss anything. So so it's kind of weird though, because like there's a lot of stuff to kind of unpack with this. So maybe what I'll do is I'll play the whole thing and then we'll kind of go back and analyze it just a tiny bit. So I'm pretty sure that instrument is a... Oh, I'm spacing out. It's an instrument I like using, but... Yeah, but one thing I really like about this MIDI is the bass line, like the kind of slap bass. Kind of gives us this kind of like, there's a chill vibe, but the bass really kind of makes it really interesting. Like there's a bit of like, it's kind of got a funky, I don't know if it's exactly what people would call funk, but it's got like a really nice groove going, and it helps it from being a bit too slow. While there's kind of a contrast, and this solo is freaking awesome. I'm sorry. I'm curious what this instrument is. It kind of sounds like a piano, but obviously it's not. Guitar is pretty cool. Backing. Kind of some like driving, you know, building up the MIDI a bit. But the chord progressions are interesting. Like it kind of... So that part's interesting. It's... in a way... That part sounds a little strange to me. Maybe it's supposed to be intentional, but... I sort of get what they were going for, but I don't know. So yeah, obviously I don't know any of the names of any of these midis or who made it, but that was really cool. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, I guess we have some extra stuff at the end. You know, I'm sorry. I was laughing a little bit because the little like guitar riff was very. It reminded me a lot of the Batman song. You know, like. So, this is kind of interesting. I actually do like some stuff about this. One thing that's I'm not exactly sold on is the low piano here. I almost wonder if it would be better just with the choir part. Or the piano just sounds... That's not how I would probably use a piano. I think you might see what I mean by the Batman theme thing. But yeah, synth bass is kind of cool. I also kind of like the hi-hats coming in here. I think the thing I'm not crazy about here, so like, you're doing a good job of doing some build-up because obviously MIDI songs, they need build-up. But I think you repeat like the same 4 measures exactly the same as the last 4 measures. And it kind of, I feel like I would add some kind of instrument there or do something to make it a bit more interesting. See, this part's cool. I do like you got good melodies going here. It does feel a little, it feels a bit raw. So I like the hi-hats, but there's never really a point where the like kick drum and snare kicks in to fully take the MIDI to the next level. And again, there's a little bit of like, there's a little bit of parts here where it's repeating, but which I don't have a problem with repeating stuff, but I feel like there's ways we could build to make, kind of elevate the MIDI a bit higher. Yeah, you're kind of, it's not really a disadvantage exactly, but it is really funny that the first thing I think of is Batman. And I'm not gonna count the extra space at the end like against you, like that's fine. But I think it does kind of say that whoever composed this is more new at doing midis. But yeah, a lot of what I was saying is actually some of the melodies here aren't too bad. I kind of like them, actually. I just think that there's like a little bit more polish needed to get it to where I think it would be. Like, right now it's... I'm trying to figure out how to explain it. Like, I'm seeing the I'm seeing, like, there's some fruit here. But, like, it's not quite there yet. Like, I wouldn't consider this a finished MIDI, so to speak. But yeah, that's kind of... I kind of went through all I wanted to say, but yeah. I was pretty quiet during the first playthrough, first listening, but I was honestly, like... just kind of, like there's a lot of things going in my head. So it's not necessarily like all bad, because again, like I said, a lot of it I was kind of digging. So yeah, let's move on to the next one. So this MIDI is funny because at first I thought I figured out who did it, but then towards the end I was like, ah, it's you. I'm not gonna say who it is here, but I'm pretty sure I know who did this MIDI. I guess the positive thing I could say is you kind of have a certain MIDI style, and so I guess that's kind of a good thing. It kind of makes my job harder because now I can't like it's. I feel like it's obvious who it is. So let's go through it a little bit. So I do really like the harpsichord here. Interestingly enough, the beginning kind of has a thing where it sort of feels like the pitch is a little off, but then as the rest of the song comes in, it works well. So it's that old know the rules to break them kind of thing. Also, I like the slap bass. I do like there's kind of this like epic build up here, which is pretty cool. So yeah, this part right here, I'm surprised that I didn't like pick up on it sooner. But it kind of has a what's the word? Like, I want to say it's kind of Spanish music-esque. There's a word for it, I just can't think of it at the moment. Which is why I think I might know who it is. So what's interesting here is the little build-up that happens here. I almost kind of wish it went longer, but it's kind of tricky, because, like, this part's really cool. But I could kind of see why you went into the song right here, but I'm pretty sure you could extend it for twice as many measures to really hammer that huge buildup. Yeah, this part kind of has a little bit of the groovy, I really like the slap bass. It's got a bit of groove to it. So it's interesting here, because right here, there's a little piano part going, but there's also a little kind of, I like to call it like the kind of like reggae, offbeat like thing. But it's weird because it doesn't play on every, like, well, I guess it is now, but. And so that part's pretty cool. There's like it's that weird guitar sound that's not the two normal guitar sounds. There's like another one. And this part's kind of cool. It's good in a MIDI to like build up, then kind of drop back down, then kind of build up again. Just to keep things interesting. Oh, I guess did I not catch this last time? Because that was a key change, which is actually kind of interesting. It's interesting because, and I guess it went back down. See, I say it's interesting because introducing a key change in a MIDI can be kind of tricky because for a MIDI, you want it to come back around, like repeat. So like, even if you have like, it kind of works sometimes when you're doing like an actual song that's not meant to be repeated exactly, because you could just go up the key change and then be like, yeah, the key changed at the end. But with a MIDI, you somehow have to like funnel it back so that when you repeat it, it still works and feels like it's meant to be repeated. So yeah, I don't really have much to say about that. I mean, I liked it. It was pretty cool, pretty groovy. I think I know who did it. I think it's pretty obvious, but just because I've heard their other midis. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. Okay, that. Okay, that's pretty cool. I don't actually know who made this, which kind of makes it even more interesting. So, let's start from the top. So this riff is interesting because it kind of sounds like something I do, because it's kind of a little bit simplistic. Simplistic, like, riffs aren't bad, by the way. And that guitar riff is pretty cool. It's kind of weird because there's a lot of different instrument parts happening. I really like that guitar thing that goes up, like, yeah, they're kind of like, oh, it's a harp, of course, duh. But yeah, like, here, listening here, I actually kind of thought it was retro sounding. And it's interesting because it's very open, just kind of a lot of stuff happening, but it kind of works. An interesting, like, driving thing going. This part's pretty cool right here. I really like the, that sound right there. And this guitar part is sick. You probably saw me, I smiled at this part. Because, oh man, it is so good. It's actually kind of strange, because when it gets to the part, like, the other part before is almost like sort of a different song, and when this kicks in, it's like, it starts really driving. It reaches like kind of this apex in the second half. And then this part's cool because it kind of brings it back to the beginning. Yeah, I actually quite enjoyed that. That was pretty cool. It was interesting because listening at the beginning first, I was like, it's kind of got this sporadic nature, which almost made me think it was like a this isn't like derogatory or anything, but like a kind of newbie. Is derogatory the right word there? I'm not sure. It sounded kind of like a newbie thing, but then there's parts where you listen to it, like the harp coming up and the way the guitar's going. You're like, I don't know. This sounds like it might be a more seasoned MIDI composer. And then the guitar part, when it comes to that part's really cool. So yeah, and the drums, like it did a good job of, building it up. I feel like a lot of MIDIs follow this kind of structure where you take it, it builds up, drops back down, then builds back up. And it's kind of an interesting choice to go with two different kind of like, you could almost cut this MIDI in half and have two MIDIs. They both still go together, but it's just kind of interesting. Like I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's just kind of interesting. It is a good way of keeping things interesting. But when you do that, sometimes you kind of, it's possible to get that feeling where you have two MIDIs where it kind of feels a little disconnected from one another. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it's just a thing to keep in mind, I think. Oh no! You guys can probably see that. Whoops. Hopefully we don't get a lot of those. So yeah, let's go to the next MIDI. So, we had a short little MIDI there. Gotta be honest, I don't know how I feel about the drone, like the droning low piano. To me, when I hear the droning piano, it almost sounds to me like the instrument could be incorrect. So like a part of me wants to check the MIDI afterwards and kind of check if it's supposed to be like that, but maybe it is. I do. What's interesting is I kind of like the other stuff going on, because you could definitely do a MIDI that kind of is drone-like. And like the other parts definitely got some cool stuff going on. But I feel like the piano, the low piano kind of drowns it all out. There's like there's like multiple there's like two instruments going. There's a little like what do you call it? The marimba kind of thing. And that part you could hear pretty well. There's also this other synth or something they could barely hear that I don't know if it's because of the piano, but you can't really hear it that well. So I do kind of, it's gonna sound goofy, but I kind of want to check out and see which is this 5. I just want to check this out. Oh, there's actually, okay, it's actually, oops, the screen probably did a whack thing there. There's only 2 instruments, actually. It's this, It's just the piano, which is a bunch of notes playing, and then there's the fun little the marimba thing. If we check the so yeah, xylophone, and then the piano. It's interesting that it has a bank select. But no, this is actually a lot simpler MIDI than I thought it was. So yeah, I don't really have much to say about that. With seeing how simple it is, and I guess I don't know why I thought I heard another synth, because I think I was wrong, right? But I definitely think there could be more added to that MIDI. It seemed very simplistic, especially it's rare to see a MIDI to just have 2 tracks, but I also would suggest not using a piano in that way. The piano is a really strong instrument, like when you have it low, and it kind of drowned out the other part, which the other part is the part with the melody. And that's the part that's a little bit more interesting, whereas the piano that seemed really loud seems like it should be more of a background thing. So yeah. That's all I have to say there. Let's go to the next one. It's such a weird MIDI. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, I have an idea of who did it, but I could be wrong. So I'm gonna try to keep that to myself. But let's start from the top. First of all, this part is really close to my MIDI Corpselicious, which I find a little sus, but that's fine. But damn, this part is so weird. It completely changes the song. Like you're doing a groove here and it's like this, and then you're like, just kidding, I want to do another song. This groove right here reminds me of that Kanye song, Black Skinhead. Like, it's the same, like, rhythm thing going. It's like the horse gallop thing. rhythm kind of thing. And the bells right here are kind of fun. The slight pad. This part's pretty cool. But again, it's like, it's weird because it's kind of like different. It's like really in your face and then it's like back to laid back. It's like kind of... And now we've kind of stripped it back a bit with more of the pad stuff going. Okay, there's a lot of cool panning stuff going. The melody is interesting because it kind of moves around a lot. So I really like the this part. It kind of like goes towards you and then comes back. Kind of like a weird echo thing. Yeah, the bells aren't bad, but I don't know if I would use bells in that case. The bells are kind of a weird instrument sometimes. But yeah, it's interesting because the MIDI has a lot going on, and there's a lot of cool, interesting things. You could definitely tell the person who made it is very... they're good with music and they know a lot of what they're doing. Like, it's done very well, but it's also kind of got that schizophrenic nature. Which, lucky for them, I kind of like that. I just, the beginning of the MIDI is so funny. How it's like, oh, it's like this one song, but then it's like, just kidding, I want to do this now. So yeah, I have a feeling I might know who made that MIDI, but I'm gonna keep that to myself. And let's just move on to the next one. Hold on. Did I listen to this MIDI already? Yeah, I guess it's just a coincidence. So yeah, apologies. I wanted to give the MIDI a full play without me talking through it, because that was an accident on my part. Or I just want you guys to hear the whole thing in its entirety, because I talked over the first time it played. I'm gonna guess one of the reasons it sounds kind of familiar is that might be the same MIDI composer as the last one. It's just kind of funny because it's a very similar riff. And I just can't think of, like, not Batman. It also does the hi-hats in a similar way. So this build-up's not too bad. And then the bass kicks in. That's not too bad. One thing I'll say is I think that this kind of MIDI would benefit from having some actual drums kick in. It seems like they've been using a lot of hi-hats, and the hi-hats are good, but the hi-hats don't drive a MIDI. What drives a MIDI is the kick and the snare. Basically, drums, for the most part, drums, you could basically do a pretty good drum rhythm just from a kick, snare, and hi-hat. There's obviously other instruments, but they're kind of secondary. So I do like, so what's interesting about this is that it does repeat this thing a little too many times without changing. But one thing I like more about this MIDI is the part where the hi-hat starts to kick up, which would be good. I think it still needs a kick and a snare, because you could add the other part of a kick and a snare, and then the hi-hat would come in, and it would be like really driving the MIDI home. But since there's no kick and snare, there's really nothing to truly get this MIDI like into higher gear. This pad is good. Some of these are really, like, there's definitely stuff like they're definitely doing the build-up thing. I just think the build-up thing is coming a bit too late. I feel like you could shorten this whole build-up sequence like half, and then it would you could even get away with taking like that part of the MIDI where it's building up and stuff, do it half, and you could actually literally do the same thing twice, basically. Like, the thing is, with this MIDI, there's really no fallbacks to build back up again, which I think is something that it suffers from. I do, however, I do like this part. But what I would do is I might repeat this like this, and then you take like the same melody part and with another instrument, do another octave higher, so it's really building up, like, yeah, that kind of thing, like, and maybe like bring in some strings like even higher octave, and then really kick it back into your main riff right after. So that MIDI, it's not bad. In like, how should I say? I definitely see, like, I think it's like one of the other ones where I see there's like some fruit there. There's definitely some like music stuff I'm seeing. I just don't think it's quite at the level where I would say it's a like good. That sounds harsh. Oh. I don't think it really reaches the full potential that it could. I would say for this MIDI composer to start adding kick and snares to the drums, because the hi-hats is only, it's like the third most important like instrument when it comes to, or like thing in drums, but the kick and the snare, I would almost say the kick is number one, snare number two, and then the hi-hat, which you already have, is probably number three. Now the hi-hat, you can use the hi-hat by itself to like build it up, but you eventually want a kick and a snare at some point, Because that's the thing that really drives the music, the rhythm, the beat. So yeah, I think I've said everything I want to say about that MIDI. I apologize that I talked over it the first time and I kind of, you know, had to do it over. I don't know if you guys heard that, but there's thunder where I am, so hopefully that doesn't cause an issue. Let's go to the last MIDI. Oh no. uh, I guess I forgot to stop it. Oh no. So yeah, It's very obvious that this MIDI is very inspired by Stew Boy. So I'll just say right now, I have nothing against Stew Boy. I just don't really vibe with that kind of vibe. But that doesn't mean I don't like. He is a good musician, and this MIDI is done very well. It just means that you're not gonna immediately win me over by just doing like a Stew Boy vibe kind of thing. Well, let's start at the beginning. I do like the this part's pretty cool. There's the synths here are weird because it seems like there's a lot of automation going on. Maybe I'm wrong, but they kind of have like a weird pulse to them. Like they don't sound like just normal synth to me. Perhaps I'm wrong, but and I like the drums. The drums are done really well. The bells are kind of cool. I kind of dig this. It's a lot more of a chill vibe, but I kind of like this. But I think it's like when the pads come in right here, I think it starts to get really that Stew Boy vibe, which I'm not so much into. I got nothing against it, but I just prefer more driving stuff, I guess I'd say. Still not bad, like, as, like, MIDI composer thing. Like, you know, there's people that like that kind of stuff, so. And, like, I'm not gonna say it's bad or anything. It's just, you know, I have my personal biases on things. This part's interesting because that synth reminds me a lot of the chronology map from Of Eternity, which I do. That might actually be a Stew Boy MIDI, and I will say I actually do like that MIDI, strangely enough. And this part's a little interesting. I'm not sure what that percussion thing is, but yeah, that guitar thing right there is very Stew Boy-like, I think. Like, kind of Ancient Aliens-esque, I guess. You know, I could be completely getting this wrong, and then all the Stew Boy fans are gonna get really mad at me or something. I mean, there's like slight key changes and stuff. But definitely is like more of a chill, slow. It was weird because I almost said it was going to be kind of jazzy, but I don't think jazzy is the right term. I think jazzy would be a little bit more groovy, whereas this is more laid back and okay, I did like that part. The start-stop thing was pretty cool. Like, you've done a great job of creating an overall soundscape. Yeah, like this MIDI is really well done, I will say. It does to me very much scream cryonology, or like, I don't know if it sounds that unique. It kind of sounds like it's trying to emulate a style, but I don't know if it would stand on its own as being very unique. I don't know if that's a bad thing. I could be also biased because I just don't vibe with Stewboy very much. Nothing against people who like him. I know it's definitely people chill with it. My one question I do have right here is does this work in vanilla? Because it is 79 kilobytes, so it may work in vanilla, but that is my main question, I would say. But yeah, so that was me listening to all the midis. Hopefully you guys watched it, found it interesting. I will not announce the winners during this video, but I did want to record like my first listening experience, and I think the way I did the format worked out pretty well, where I listened to it once and then I like, you know, listen to it again, but then give my thoughts about different stuff. But yeah, unlike the map submissions, the MIDI submissions are going to be rated just by me. I think you may get a little bit of an idea of what I think about some of the different midis, but I don't know if you would know what my favorite midis were. It'll be interesting because I do know there were fewer MIDI submissions, so I probably will have to pick more than just 3 midis just in case one person made multiple midis, you know what I mean? Because I want there to be 3 winners. And I think I want the 3 winners to be different people, because it would be kind of weird for the same person to win multiple prizes, but we'll see. But yeah, this has been Arsinikk. Thanks for joining me for this little listening party thing. I'll be like premiering this and the map playback thing, but like I'll be in the premiere. So like we're gonna be deciding the winners before we post these videos, so like you can't say anything in the comments to like change my opinion about something. But yeah, we just got 8 midis, so picking the MIDI winners, I think, will be a little bit easier than the map winners. Like, I liked a lot of the midis we got, don't get me wrong, so there's still the challenge of picking through the midis, but I'm just saying there are a lot less midis to sift through than there are maps. But yeah, this has been Arsinikk. Thanks for watching, and you know, I'll be announcing the winner soon. Thank you, and bye-bye.